In the beginning, before your first breath, your name was already written in the ancient scrolls of purpose. When darkness covered the face of the deep, the same voice that said, "Let there be light," whispered your destiny into existence. They tell you that the age of prophets has passed, that the time of divine visitation is a relic of history. But I tell you this day, the same God who parted seas still makes ways where there seem to be none. The same power that raised armies from dry bones stirs within your spirit even now. You stand at the threshold of greatness, not by chance, but by divine appointment. Like Moses before the burning bush, you may protest, "Who am I?" But the question has never been who you are. It has always been whose you are. You are not merely flesh drawn from dust. You are spirit breathed from the very nostrils of the Almighty. Your frame was knit together in secret places, your days ordained before one of them came to be. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, a living sanctuary where heaven and earth converge. Consider the mighty Gideon, hiding in a winepress, threshing wheat in fear. How did the angel greet him? Not as a coward, but as a mighty warrior. While Gideon saw himself through the lens of limitation, heaven saw him through the eyes of potential. The angel didn't address who he was, but who he was called to become. So it is with you. The name by which heaven knows you is greater than the name by which earth calls you. Your true identity isn't found in your failures or successes. It's found in your calling. Take heart from the story of Joshua, who stood at the edge of his promised land, facing walls that would not fall and enemies that would not yield. "Be strong and courageous," came the command, not once, but 3 times. Why? Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is the triumph over it. The promised land of your destiny is never unoccupied. It is always guarded by giants of doubt, protected by walls of impossibility, defended by armies of past failure. These adversaries don't stand against you because your vision is flawed. They stand against you because your vision is valuable. Remember Ruth, who left the familiar to pursue the unknown. "Where you go, I will go," she declared, not knowing that her faithfulness in famine would position her in the lineage of kings. Your current season of scarcity is not your final story. The fields in which you now glean will one day belong to your descendants. The unfamiliar paths you now walk become the highways for generations that will call your name blessed. Think on Nehemiah, who wept when he heard of broken walls and burned gates. Many saw ruins, but he saw restoration. Many counted rubble, but he counted resources. Many spoke of what was lost, but he spoke of what could be rebuilt. Your tears over what is broken are not signs of weakness. They are the first waters of a coming flood of restoration. What others call devastation, you are anointed to call development ground. Consider Daniel, who purposed in his heart not to defile himself with the king's portion. When Babylon sought to remake him in its image, he remembered whose image he truly bore. The furnaces meant to consume became stages for divine visitation. The lion's den, designed for his destruction, became an arena for his vindication. Your trials are not meant to break you. They are meant to reveal you. Your opposition is not designed to stop you. It is positioned to showcase you. Like Queen Esther, you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. The crisis that alarms you is the very cue for your entrance. The problem that overwhelms you is precisely why you were positioned. What seems like bad timing in the natural is perfect timing in the eternal. The very fact that you breathe in this moment means you possess everything required for this moment. Remember the disciples, huddled in an upper room, the sound of their own breathing drowned out by the pounding of their fearful hearts. Then came the rushing mighty wind, the tongues of fire, the glory that transformed fishermen into world changers. The same Spirit that hovered over creation now hovers over your circumstances, waiting to bring divine order from human chaos, supernatural purpose from natural confusion. Look at your scars. They tell a story not of defeat, but of survival. Examine your failures. They speak not of incompetence, but of courage to attempt. Consider your doubts. They reveal not lack of faith, but honesty of heart. Like Jacob, you have wrestled through the night, and though you may walk with a limp, you walk with a blessing. Though you bear the marks of battle, you carry the mantle of breakthrough. The walls of Jericho did not fall in a moment. 7 times the people marched. 7 times they encircled what stood between them and their promise. On the 7th day, they marched 7 times more. Persistence preceded miracle. Obedience anticipated breakthrough. So it is in your journey. Each faithful step, though it seems to change nothing in the moment, creates hairline fractures in the walls that oppose you. Each act of obedience, though it appears fruitless in the instant, plants seeds of eventual harvest. Like Joseph in his pit, sold by those who should have protected him, imprisoned when he should have been promoted, forgotten when he should have been remembered. Your setbacks are setups for your comeback. Your pit is not your permanent position. It is your preparation ground. Your prison is not your final location. It is your training facility. What the enemy meant for evil, God intends for good. Remember David, the shepherd boy who became king. Before he faced Goliath, he faced lions and bears that no one saw him defeat. Before he sat on the throne, he served in the fields where no one saw him worship. Your hidden victories prepare you for public conquests. Your private faithfulness qualifies you for public influence. The giant you face today is not your destruction. It is your announcement. When it falls, kingdoms will take notice. Like Noah, you may be building what you've never seen, preparing for what others mock, investing in what seems impossible. For decades, his hammer echoed against wooden beams, while laughter echoed against his resolve. But with each nail driven, with each plank secured, he was constructing not just an ark, but a legacy of obedience. Your work may seem foolish to those around you. Your vision may appear delusional to those who lack eyes to see, but continue building. The rains that will validate your obedience are already gathering in distant clouds. You are not called to comfort, but to conquest. Not to ease, but to excellence. Not to security, but to significance. The promised land never yields to the fearful. The throne room never opens to the timid. The crown never rests on the brow of the hesitant. Like Caleb, who at 85 still claimed mountains, declare, "Give me this mountain." Age cannot wither divine purpose. Time cannot erode heavenly calling. What God has planted in your heart, He has already provided for in His hand. Remember, before a sword is worthy of battle, it must endure the forge. Before gold is fit for a crown, it must survive the fire. Before a diamond adorns royalty, it must withstand the pressure. Your trials are not punishment. They are purification. Your struggles are not random. They are refinement. What feels like breaking is actually becoming. The Red Sea did not part until feet touched its edge. Manna did not fall until hunger gnawed. Water did not flow until the rock was struck. Your miracle awaits your movement. Your provision anticipates your step of faith. Your breakthrough lingers just beyond your boldest act of trust. When Jesus multiplied loaves and fishes, He started with what was available, not what was adequate. The miracle was not in the initial resource, but in the heavenly response to earthly surrender. What seems insufficient in your hands, becomes immeasurable in His. What appears limited in your possession becomes limitless in His provision. Like Paul, you may bear a thorn in your flesh, a reminder of your humanity amid your calling. 3 times he pleaded for removal. 3 times came the response, "My grace is sufficient." Your weakness is not disqualification. It is the stage upon which divine strength performs its most convincing act. Your limitation is not restriction. It is the canvas upon which divine ability paints its most breathtaking masterpiece. The mantle of Elijah did not fall until Elisha refused to turn back. Through 3 cities he persisted, past every opportunity to settle for less. "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you," he declared. Your double portion awaits your undivided devotion. Your spiritual inheritance requires your relentless pursuit. What you are willing to chase, you are destined to catch. Now hear this, child of promise. The same voice that called worlds into existence calls purpose from your life. The same hand that hung stars in the heavens reaches to lift you from despair. The same love that sent Christ to Calvary sends strength to your struggle. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not finished. Rise up. Take hold of what was purchased for you at immeasurable cost. Stand firm on promises that cannot fail and purposes that cannot be thwarted. Advance against odds that would terrify the faint-hearted and obstacles that would deter the uncommitted. Your name is engraved on divine palms. Your tears are collected in heavenly bottles. Your prayers ascend like incense before an eternal throne. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. No word sent to condemn you shall stand. No power risen to oppose you shall succeed. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead now dwells in you. The same authority that commanded demons now speaks through you. The same power that healed the broken now flows through you. You are not merely surviving until heaven. You are establishing heaven wherever you stand. So let your light shine before others. Let your faith speak to mountains. Let your love transform landscapes. For you were not created for insignificance, but for impact. Not for mediocrity, but for magnificence. Not for survival, but for dominion. The roar of the Lion of Judah echoes in your declaration. The seal of the Holy Spirit validates your commission. The blood of the Lamb secures your position. Walk worthy of this calling. Live lifted by this grace. Stand strengthened by this truth. Your destiny is not determined by earthly heritage, but by heavenly lineage. Your capacity is not measured by human assessment, but by divine investment. Your future is not predicted by past failure, but by eternal promise. Now go forth. Let nothing hold you back. Let no fear restrain you. Let no doubt define you. For greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. The battle may rage, but the victory is assured. The night may linger, but the morning approaches. The struggle may intensify, but the strength increases. You are called, you are chosen, you are commissioned, not by human approval, but by divine appointment, not for temporary applause, but for eternal impact, not according to earthly wisdom, but according to heavenly purpose. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your season of divine manifestation and kingdom advancement. The ancient scrolls of destiny have turned to the chapter that bears your name. The heavenly hosts stand at attention, awaiting your next act of faith. The cloud of witnesses leans forward, anticipating your next step of obedience. Rise up, walk forth, and fulfill what was written about you before time began. For you are not ordinary, you are ordained. You are not accidental, you are appointed. You are not insignificant, You are instrumental in a divine narrative larger than you can comprehend, but perfectly suited to who you were created to be. The journey has been prepared. The grace has been provided. The strength has been promised. Now, with heart ablaze and spirit resolute, advance into the fullness of all that awaits you. Amen. Stand strong, brother, and subscribe to join us.